Most seniors believe a stroke hits like a lightning strike, sudden, violent, impossible to miss. That belief is dangerous because many strokes do not crash in. In reality, the body whispers first with small signs people ignore, and missing those early signs can permanently change your life. In fact, research from Harvard Medical School shows that stroke remains one of the leading causes of long-term disability in older adults, often beginning with subtle symptoms that go unnoticed. So welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast. Today, Japan's oldest doctor will share how to recognize the earliest warning signs of a stroke and why noticing them in time could save your life. Doctor, shall we begin?
Yes, John. I'm grateful we're discussing this, because early quiet signals often appear before a stroke, and recognizing them can truly change what happens next. So in today's episode, I will walk you through the top 3 early signs the body gives, how to tell when they matter, and how to respond with clarity instead of fear. And please write a 1 in the comments if you have ever experienced a stroke or know someone who did, because you're not alone.
That lands deeply, because so many seniors listening right now have felt moments of dizziness, strange vision, or sudden confusion and brushed them aside.
And that moment of dismissal is often where the real danger begins.
This reminds me of my patient who once told me, "I thought it would pass. He did not feel pain. He did not collapse. He simply felt off." And by the time he arrived at the hospital, precious time had already been lost. So, doctor, before we break down the early warning signs, can you explain why time matters so much when it comes to a stroke?
Absolutely. Time matters because the brain has almost no tolerance for interruption. The moment blood flow slows or stops, brain cells begin to fail quietly and then disappear. What makes this cruel is that the damage starts long before you feel frightened enough to act.
That quiet beginning is what troubles me most. Seniors often tell me they waited because it did not feel serious yet.
Yes, and I hear that a lot in seniors. The early minutes feel confusing rather than dramatic, so the mind looks for harmless explanations. Fatigue, dehydration, stress, or simply age become comforting stories that buy time the brain cannot afford.
That feels painfully human. We want to believe our body will correct itself if we just give it a moment.
Exactly. The key here is that a stroke is not an on or off switch. It is a process that unfolds minute by minute. During those early minutes, treatment can restore flow and protect function, but only if you arrive before the window quietly closes.
That window is something most seniors never hear explained clearly.
And that is why warnings are missed. Modern medicine can reverse or limit damage, but it cannot rewind time. Every delay steals strength, memory, speech, or independence in ways you only realize later.
It feels like the real danger is not the stroke itself, but the waiting, right?
Yes, and this leads us forward. Because most strokes do not begin with collapse, but with signals so ordinary they feel dismissible. So before we dive into the first sign, I want to help you recognize why those signals appear and what is truly happening beneath them.
That makes me lean in. If those signals are subtle on the surface, what is actually unfolding inside the brain when blood flow first starts to fail?
Let's begin at the quietest moment. When blood flow first falters, the brain does not panic. It slows. Cells lose oxygen and glucose, and they stop communicating with the precision they depend on. That is when signals become fuzzy, not broken.
That explains so much. Seniors often tell me they feel off rather than ill, like the world is slightly misaligned.
Yes, and that misalignment has a physical cause. Nerve cells rely on constant energy, and without it they struggle to fire together. Movements lose coordination. Vision blurs. Balance feels unreliable, not because muscles are weak, but because timing inside the brain has slipped.
That makes the experience feel far more understandable and less frightening.
Indeed. The brain is organized in neighborhoods, each responsible for something different. When blood flow drops in areas that manage balance and spatial awareness, the first change you notice is instability rather than pain.
So the body is giving an early warning before major functions disappear, right?
Exactly. And that early warning is a gift if seniors know how to listen. Some of the very first changes happen in the systems that keep us upright and steady.
So when that steadiness begins to fade, what is the first warning sign that tells something deeper is happening?
Well, the first warning sign is a sudden loss of coordination that does not match the moment you are in. Seniors often describe it as feeling misaligned with the room, as if the ground shifted without warning.
That description really resonates because it feels subtle but unsettling.
Yes, and that subtlety is exactly why it is missed. This kind of imbalance arrives suddenly and without explanation. It is not after standing up too fast, not after exercise, and not after a poor night of sleep. It can happen while standing at the kitchen counter, walking down a familiar hallway, or turning toward a chair you've sat in for years.
I hear seniors say they tried to shake it off and keep moving.
That reminds me how often this happens quietly. Some seniors feel pulled to one side. Others misjudge a doorway, clip a shoulder on a wall, or reach for furniture they never needed before. They are not dizzy in the spinning sense. Instead, they suddenly do not trust their body to move where they intend it to go.
That loss of trust sounds like the key difference.
Exactly. The key here is timing and contrast. When balance changes abruptly, even while standing still or walking a familiar route, the brain is sending a warning. This is different from normal aging, where balance changes slowly over months or years. Here, the shift happens in seconds or minutes.
That distinction really helps separate normal aging from something urgent.
And seniors should listen to that inner alarm. I often tell them the brain speaks through coordination before it speaks through words. When harmony disappears, even briefly, it deserves immediate attention.
That makes me think of how many near misses never get discussed.
Yes, and balance depends on several brain systems working together in precise timing. When blood flow falters, that timing is often the first thing to slip. Sometimes it recovers just enough to confuse seniors into waiting, thinking the moment has passed.
Waiting feels so natural in that moment.
It does, and that is why this sign matters so much. If seniors recognize sudden balance changes as a message rather than a mistake, they gain precious time. And time, as we've said, is what protects walking, independence, and the confidence to move through the world safely.
That feels like such an important shift in awareness.
But balance is only one way the brain signals distress. Very often, the next clues appear in how you see and sense the world around them.
Okay, so balance is the first whisper. Let's continue. What is the next sign that tells something more is happening?
Well, after balance, the next sign often appears through the eyes or the senses. You may notice vision blur, double briefly, or feel dimmed on one side, as if part of the world is out of focus.
That feels frightening, especially when it comes and goes.
Yes, and that shows how deceptive this stage can be. Vision or sensation may return to normal within minutes, which convinces you that nothing serious happened. But what actually occurred was a brief interruption in blood flow to areas that process sight and touch.
I know many seniors will easily blame this on their glasses or a pinched nerve.
Exactly, and that feels comforting in the moment. Many seniors blink, rub their eyes or shake their hand and feel relief. The danger is not the sensation itself, but how suddenly it appeared and how unfamiliar it feels.
So it is the sudden change, not the intensity, that matters most.
Exactly. The key here is contrast with normal experience. Stroke-related vision changes often affect one side or one eye, or create a strange sense of dimness or loss of depth. Sensory changes may feel like the body is partly missing rather than asleep. Research published in the journal Stroke shows that these sudden one-sided visual or sensory changes often appear when blood flow to specific brain areas is briefly reduced, even if the symptoms last only minutes. That is the brain signaling stress, not fatigue.
That distinction makes it easier to recognize.
Indeed, and you should not wait for pain. Vision and sensory centers are sensitive to even brief oxygen loss, so these signs often surface early. When they appear alongside balance changes, they form a pattern that deserves immediate attention.
Patterns are easier to trust than isolated moments.
Yes, and when the brain struggles to process sight and sensation, communication itself can begin to falter. Words, thoughts, and understanding may shift in subtle but meaningful ways.
That often feels like the moment seniors start to notice something is wrong. When that happens, what is the next sign that tends to appear?
The next sign often shows up in how you speak or think. Words may come out slightly slurred, slower, or arranged in the wrong order. Sometimes the senior knows exactly what they want to say, but the mouth or mind cannot deliver it cleanly.
That is often when family members lean in and feel concerned.
Yes, and I hear that a lot in seniors. They tell me, "I felt fine, but everyone kept asking if I was okay." Speech changes are often easier for others to hear than for the senior to feel. That is why they matter so much.
It sounds like the outside world notices before the inside does.
Exactly. A sentence may trail off, familiar words may disappear, or responses may feel delayed. You might laugh it off or blame nerves, but this is the brain struggling to coordinate language in real time. It is subtle, but it is not harmless.
That moment must feel confusing and even embarrassing.
It is, and that is why it is dangerous. The key here is sudden change. If speech or thinking shifts abruptly, even for a few minutes, the brain is signaling distress. This can include confusion, trouble understanding others, or feeling mentally foggy in a way that is unfamiliar.
So it is not about forgetting a word once in a while.
No, not at all. This feels different from normal aging. It feels like the mind is not responding when called, and that loss of responsiveness should never be ignored.
That description really helps separate everyday moments from warning signs.
Yes, and this leads us forward. One of the most misleading things about speech and thinking changes is how quickly they can improve. Seniors feel relieved and assume the danger has passed.
That feels like such a cruel trick of the body.
Yes, it is. In fact, a large study published in the Journal of Stroke followed more than 4,000 seniors and found that the risk of a major stroke was highest within the first 2 days after symptoms disappeared. Those quiet recoveries were not reassurance. They were the brain's final warning.
That completely changes how you hear those moments.
It does. When symptoms come and go, the body is not healing itself. It is buying time, and understanding that difference can truly change everything.
So when symptoms improve and seem to disappear, how should seniors interpret that moment? And what does it actually signal beneath the surface?
Let's start by understanding that improvement does not mean safety. When symptoms fade, it often means the blockage was temporary, not that the problem is gone. The brain received just enough blood to recover in the moment, but the conditions that caused the interruption are still present.
That feels like such a dangerous false sense of relief.
Yes, and I hear that a lot in seniors. They feel lucky and assume their body corrected itself. In medicine, we call this a transient ischemic attack, but emotionally it feels like an escape.
That word does not sound urgent enough for what it represents.
Exactly. A transient episode is the brain's loudest warning. It tells us a larger stroke is possible and often close, and ignoring it is like ignoring smoke because the fire briefly went out.
That image really stays with you.
It should. Nearly 1 in 3 seniors who experience one of these brief episodes will go on to have a major stroke without treatment. The space between the warning and the event is where lives are protected.
That number is sobering and clarifying at the same time.
John, it's important to understand that these warning episodes do not happen randomly. They appear more often in seniors with certain conditions or patterns in their health. Recognizing who is at risk helps turn fear into preparation.
Okay, let's discuss that next before we dive into what to do when a stroke actually appears. Which seniors should be paying closer attention when these warning signs show up, even if they otherwise feel healthy?
Well, seniors who feel healthy can still carry silent risks that build slowly over years. High blood pressure, irregular heart rhythms, diabetes, and unmanaged stress often do their work quietly without daily symptoms.
That feels unsettling, especially for those who stay active and take pride in feeling well.
Yes, and I hear that often. Seniors tell me they walk every day, eat well, and feel fine. But many stroke risks stay silent until the brain is under stress, and when the signs do appear, hesitation becomes the real danger. What matters most in that moment is knowing what to do next, not why it happened.
That moment can feel overwhelming. When a senior thinks a stroke might be happening, what should they do first?
The very first thing I tell seniors to do is call emergency services and say clearly that a stroke is suspected. Do not wait to see if symptoms pass, and do not try to drive yourself unless there is absolutely no other option.
That clarity matters so much in a moment filled with fear. I hear seniors worry about overreacting or causing a scene.
Yes, and that reminds me how often hesitation steals time. Seniors are taught to be polite and patient, but a stroke requires urgency, not courtesy. Every minute without treatment allows more brain tissue to suffer damage that cannot be undone.
So that instinct to wait is actually the most dangerous part.
Exactly. The key here is simplicity. Call for help immediately, stay where you are, and let trained responders take over. Do not take food, drink, or medication unless instructed, and focus on staying as calm as possible while help is on the way.
That calm feels hard to hold on to in such a frightening moment.
It is, which is why preparation matters. There is something seniors can do in those first minutes before help arrives, and we explain it clearly in another episode we strongly encourage listeners to watch next. It's an important one, especially for anyone who wants to feel less helpless in that waiting space.
That sense of steadiness feels like something seniors can truly hold on to.
Yes, what stays with seniors after these moments is not fear, but reflection. They think about what they almost lost and what truly matters. Protecting the brain means protecting memory, independence, and dignity. And when they understand that, quick action no longer feels like panic. It feels like self-respect and care for the life they have built.
That perspective really grounds the moment. How do you help seniors carry that awareness forward in a way that builds confidence instead of fear?
By helping them see awareness as strength, not alarm. When seniors recognize the signs and trust themselves to act, fear softens into confidence, and uncertainty gives way to calm.
Thank you, Doctor, and to all listeners, if you've stayed with us this far, you've already done something meaningful for yourself. And if this episode helped, take a moment to like it, leave a comment, and subscribe. Oh, and watch this next video right now.
Yes, please.
We've picked this one especially for you.